Okay, this webinar is being recorded. By participating in this webinar, you agree that Angelique Robbins has all rights to this recording, and you grant her permission to use your image in any written or spoken comments you choose to offer during the course of the webinar in any matter she chooses. Is that okay with all of you? Cool. Okay. I'm also going to do an audio recording of it, and I'll post that for each of you so that you don't have to turn on the video. If you want to listen to this, you can just download it to your Dropbox and just listen to it from your phone also. So all of you are familiar with me and familiar with Geschichte, yes? No? Okay, so Pamela says no. So Pamela, whenever I was 19 years old, I had a near-death experience. And in that near-death experience,
interventions are in place. And Dr. Parikh, to your point,
whoever just came on, can you mute yourself, please?
Sandra Lynch Irvin.
Do you think there should be a nationwide lockdown? Yeah, we've been.
Okay. For some reason, I'm not able to mute everyone from my. Oh well. So when I was 19, I had this near-death experience, and during that death experience, I met this huge tsunami of energy, and it was very intimidating. It was quite scary because it was so powerful, and I interpreted this energy that I met as God, and it communicated to me telepathically and took me through an entire funeral scenario where I got to see all of the people that loved me. And it was interesting. I wasn't trying to kill myself or anything during that experience, but I did overdose on drugs during that experience. So you could say I had some type of death wish. And it changed my perspective completely on life and the perspective I had on the people in my life. And I still thought I was going to die, but I obviously didn't die. But that whole experience lasted about 5 hours, and it was horrible, other than being able to meet this tsunami of energy. So when I asked this tsunami of energy its name, after I had called it God, it replied back to me that its name was Geschichte.
Thank you very much.
And I had no idea what that meant. I thought it was a pretty word. I didn't even think it had any meaning. And I actually didn't find out that it had any meaning until it was what, 2-3 years ago, I guess. And my father is a biblical scholar. And I had never even told him about this near-death experience, but we were in my basement and I was telling him about this experience, and I said that I had met this tsunami of energy that told me its name was Geschichte. And he said, what? And he said, did you say Geschichte? And I said, yeah. And he said, do you know what that means? And I said, no. And he said, it means history in German. And specifically for those of us who study theology, it's Heilsgeschichte is used in our studies regarding the holy history. So that was really very cool for me, and I think cool for him as well. Very validating. But when I came back from this near-death experience when I was 19, I started having really weird things happen to me. Like I started having sleep paralysis in the middle of the day, every single day for about a year, where I would just fall asleep and I couldn't move my body at all. But I could hear all of these people and stuff around me. to this day, I have no idea if there were actually any people. I don't know what was really happening there, but I think some type of adjustment was being made. I also was led to a specific teacher that channeled the angel Michael, and Michael taught me for 13 years. And then I had my own conversations and teachings that I was receiving also with Geschichte during that time period also. So it was during all of these studies that I learned emotional alchemy in the way that we're going to start teaching you guys today. For those of you that have never taken our classes, you don't know that this is an intro to it, but truly the process of emotional alchemy it takes a long time to master it. So don't think that just after this one course today you should be great at it or anything like that. But what we do hope to give you today is some beginning points of how to start practicing working with your emotions and just the general understanding of how emotional alchemy works so that you can explore it on your own and you can practice it on your own. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sing this song that Geschichte taught me when I was in my 20s. It's their song. And after I'm done singing, Geschichte will be speaking through me. So just close your eyes and relax and enjoy the song. Om Sei Safanata. Om Sei Safanata. Ooh, ooh, hey, ha, Satan, come, Satan, ha, Satan, come, Satan. Ooh, safe no. Ooh, for say, ah, safe none forsaken. Ah, hey, for norte. Ah, hey, for norte. Ah, come forte. note. Home for Sang Tien Kien Nu. Home for Sang Tien Kien Nu. Nyam fortiet, Nyam fortiet, Om for San Tien Kien Nu. Well, hello, ladies. Good to see all of you. We're happy that you made it to this course, especially since a couple of you already take our classes and you're still showing up. That means a lot to us. So, emotional alchemy. Very important skill, especially right now, isn't it? When there's all of these intense emotions and lots of fear, lots of anxiety, lots of worry about what's happening in your world. And sometimes, no matter what's happening, the hardest thing to deal with is your emotions, isn't it? Because that's the one thing you can't get away from. You can hide from most other things, but you cannot hide from yourself, from your own thoughts, and from your own emotions. So, being able to handle your emotions with maturity and grace and begin to develop a certain mastery with your emotions is one of the greatest gifts that you can give yourself. And furthermore, because you are vibrational beings, your emotional self contributes to that more than you can imagine. So when you are in a dark emotional space and it continues for long periods of time, it's not good for what you start to experience on the outside as well. In the same breath, those who avoid negative emotion or pretend like they're not there, those who are in denial, are still vibrating at those emotional states, only unaware that they are, which is actually worse. So it's actually better to be aware of your emotional state, even if it is a negative state, even if it does go on long, because at least when you're in a state of awareness, you can do something about it. When you're in a state of denial or deflection or avoidance, you cannot do anything about it. So truly the most disempowered state to be in is a state of denial. And that is one of our core teachings, because the state of humanity at this moment in time, if you honestly look at what's happening, you can see clearly that you are able to get to this place because of mass denial and mass avoidance of how you've been ruled, we shall say. So, learning to become very accountable in this regard is of the utmost importance. And if you can keep these words in your mind, keep this understanding in your heart, and hold yourself accountable to it, you will not only discover your world becoming better, but the world at large becoming better as well. So since there's only 4 of you today, we'd like to hear from each one of you what you would like to work on emotionally. Because since there's only 4 of you, it'd actually be quite easy for us to combine the general emotional state and work on you as a group, work with your emotions as a group, which would be very beneficial. Yes? So who wants to go first? We would just like to hear what's going on with you. Go ahead, Pamela.
I get hurt easily.
You get hurt easily?
Yes.
Such as your feelings get hurt easily?
Yeah, my emotions, yes.
Okay. So would you say you like being offended, or how, like give us a little more detail?
Offended, easily hurt by what people say. I think I take it to heart too much.
Okay. So taking things personally, maybe even when they're not meant to be personal, that kind of thing also? Okay. Very good. We can feel deeply into that. Okay. Who else?
Okay. I didn't hear part of what you said because the dogs, but I guess I would say, you know, the Stitchy talked about forgiveness the other day, and perhaps that's something I need to learn about.
Well, that's a wonderful. We're going to feel into that. Okay. Who's next?
What I'd like to work on today is being alone during this. Like, I live alone, and it's like I feel very disconnected, even though we're connected energetically and we're connected through the internet and all that. But I'm feeling, yeah, like I'm missing human interaction a lot. So loneliness, shocking.
Well, that's really fascinating, because as we dove into both this specific route with Pamela and Pat, it was loneliness. Okay, Chantel?
Okay, going on with the theme, I can feel where that's coming from in my end. Mine is more being devalued or non-respected, so feeling, say, alone with this energy path that I'm going on with the family situation.
With your family situation, it's hard for us to hear you for some reason.
Being devalued or being like alone, being put down by the family in regards to this whole energy process, that path I want to take.
Okay.
So alone on that path.
Okay, we're going to feel into that too. Okay, so if we take all of these as a group, we would say that the root emotional thing going on is rejection. So can you feel how what you asked for is related to rejection? And can you all feel how we got there? But you probably can if you can find your own connection to that. Yes? Isn't that interesting? So this always happens with humanity, something to keep in mind, that interestingly, you guys are working through the same root issues at the same time. But the way that they express with each one of you is often different. So it seems like it's something different, but especially when we do these group gatherings, there's always a connection in what needs to be healed. And those who take our classes also realize this. They end up with classmates that are kindred in this way as well. So can each one of you get in touch with this feeling of rejection? But when you feel like you're feeling it, just raise your hand. Okay. Whenever you're practicing emotional alchemy, that's where you start. You always start with whatever it is that you're dealing with, okay? So you want to be able to have the, whatever that negative emotion is, you want to be able to allow yourself to feel it. So you've probably noticed that the theme in your world is to avoid it. It's to not go into it, to act like it's not there, or to try to talk yourself out of it being there, to try to use your thoughts and your mind to get you out of a state of feeling, as if that ever does anything. It doesn't, does it? Anytime you try to talk yourself out of something, if you're genuinely feeling it, no matter what story you tell yourself, it doesn't do any good, does it? And that's because those are two completely different programs that are running within you all the time. They're connected, but they're different. So if you want to experience more positive emotional states, you don't tell yourself something over and over again, trying to convince yourself of something. You actually nurture yourself by being willing to feel it in itself. So the idea is the same as if you have a child in front of you crying and needing comfort, you don't tell the child all the reasons they should feel better. You go up to the child and you give them a comforting hug and you listen to what they have to say. And any of you who have had this experience know it's very different. And that if you try to tell someone why they should feel better, or if you've been on the other end of that, of someone trying to tell you why you should feel better, it just feels belittling and irritating, doesn't it? Because you don't feel validated. It doesn't soothe what's going on. But if you've ever been in a rough spot and someone, you can just feel that they're feeling it with you and they come up to you and they hug you, it makes you cry more, such as if you're already upset or something like that, doesn't it? It creates more of a release. And that's why, because this is about being able to validate what exists, not pretend like it doesn't exist or not act like it shouldn't exist. So that's the foundation. The foundation is what we began with, which is acceptance of what is. So now that you're all in the space, what we're going to do is we're going to actually kind of merge you all together as one being. And we're actually going to merge humanity in with you, because this is a theme within humanity right now. And we're going to work on this alchemy process in this way. So what we want you to do is follow, just stay with us, sitting in the emotion itself, okay? So we want you to really bring your presence to the table and practice being really present with these emotions. And so what we're going to do is, as we're helping you transform these emotions into new emotional states, we're going to speak the energy of the emotion itself to help you move with us. So all we're asking from you guys is presence. Be present with yourself, be present with us, be present with what you're feeling. That's it. That's all we want from you in this recording, in this practice. And what's going to happen is, when you listen back to it later, we're basically giving you the formula for how you do this. So then you can take the general formula and you can apply it to other emotional states on your own. But by going through this one with us, you'll have the general understanding of how this occurs. Do you guys understand what we're saying? Okay. So go into the rejection again. And go ahead and allow it to fill you up. Being completely present with it. Allow it to fully express itself. And just don't try to correct it. Just let it be. So as we're sitting in this rejection, it feels very alone, very isolating. There's an element of needing to hide within it. So as we're sitting in it, we're going to speak the energy of it. There's no point in trying to connect. No one understands anyway. I'm safer a few steps removed. Plus, I don't trust anyone to be deeply in here with me. I don't feel appreciated either. And so it just kind of feels like, what's the point of coming out of my shell if all it's going to be is damaging? Better to just protect myself. So as we sit in this, it actually starts to move into an element of hopelessness. So we're just going to allow ourselves to sink down into that. Allowing ourselves to feel it. And we're going to speak the energy of it. Sometimes hopelessness feels better. Sometimes having hope feels too risky. At least in a state of hopelessness, I can't lose anything else. And some part of me can relax. And so now the hopelessness is turning into what we would call numb. So we're just going to be present with that. So as we're sitting in numb, it starts to feel much more like avoidance. So we're going to allow ourselves to move into the avoidance. So as we move into that, it starts to get very uncomfortable energetically. Just going to hold presence with it. So what happens when you hold presence with any emotional state is it starts to dissolve it. It starts to change it, especially if there's anything sitting under it that needs to come forth. So the avoidance, as we sit in it, we feel it was serving as some type of protector. And so as we are present within it and it's dissolving, what we feel the emotion moving into is fear. So we're just going to allow that. And just know that when something like fear starts moving in, it's very uncomfortable. The natural desire is to move away from it, to try to avoid it, to try to get away from it. But the best results occur from not avoiding it. So just allow it to be uncomfortable, allow yourself to feel it, and train yourself to stick and stay in it in order to understand it and dissipate it. So we're going to allow the energy of the fear to speak. I don't trust what the plan for my life is. I don't always trust that I'm on the right path. I don't trust that I know what's going on with myself, if I'm making the correct decisions, if I'm gaining the correct answers. I don't trust that I'm taken care of. I don't trust that I'm deeply loved. I feel so raw and exposed. Like I could so easily be gobbled up. And I hate it. I hate feeling this vulnerable. I hate feeling like I have no sense of control. I hate feeling like I don't understand what's going on. I hate feeling like I can't trust anyone. So now the fear is starting to turn into anger. That's good. So we just allow ourselves to sink into the anger. And we'll allow the anger to speak. Nothing is right. Nothing is working out. All I feel is skepticism. Perpetual worry and fear. I'm so sick of it. This life is crap. So rarely soothing. I just want to break. I just want it to be easy to feel happy. I just want it to not be so hard all the time. I just want harmony and gentleness. So now the energy is becoming softer, more receptive. Feels like release at this moment. Just going to sink deeper into that. We're going to allow the energy of release to speak. As I validate my own emotional states through being able to feel them deeply and listen to what the emotions are saying to me with my heart and not run from them. I feel like I can let go easier, not hang on so tightly. I feel more relaxed. More calm. More willing to feel more. And it helps me feel willing to not fight back against my own emotions. So now this has turned into what we would call receptive. It's a lot of energy just coming into us, which lets us know that the general structure of the movement of energy is changing from that of pushing everything away to now drawing it in. Which is a significant energetic shift. So we're just going to sit in receptive and allow this energy to continue moving. We're going to allow the receptive energy to speak. As I allow myself to move into a relaxed space, through treating myself with kindness and listening, I'm able to feel the gentle energy of life itself saturating me, offering love to me. Offering stability. offering reassurance. And most of all, offering connection. And even though I can't quite put words on the connection itself, it feels so soothing. Calming. And even though I don't have distinct answers in this state, I can entertain the idea that the answers come to me energetically first. And the intelligence of me translates that into answers later. Knowing this, I am more willing to be receptive. And in this receptive state, I feel very willing to allow all kinds of information into me, into my field, into my awareness. And I can feel a patience emerging about how I will process it. So that's the energy that it's transforming into right now, is patience. It's very interesting to us. So we're going to allow ourselves to sink deeply into patience. We're going to speak the words of this patience energy. I realize not everyone is abiding by my time frame. I realize not everyone is waking up to things in the same way that I am. And their actions toward me and toward themselves and toward all of life reflect exactly where they are. Just as mine reflect exactly where I am. I'm willing to get to know this patient's energy deeper. Being able to root it within me, call upon it when I need it. I realize it's my expectations of others that often cause me to feel disconnected from them. And that essentially we are all on the same path at different speeds with different awarenesses. And I'm willing to allow others to be wherever it is that they are. And loosen my expectation of my need for them to be where I am. I'm willing to loosen my grip of control. And focus more intently on my own ability to evolve myself. I'm willing to love my fellow humans and myself with deeper patience. Now the energy is changing again. We feel it very strong in our chest. So we're just sitting in this energy, really feeling it, the warmth of it. This energy feels very mature, very stable. We would call this accountability energy. So we're going to allow it to speak. I'm willing to have extreme accountability. I'm willing to interact deeply with myself. To achieve extensive understanding of the aspects of me that feel insecure and unloved. I'm willing to be accountable for being the one who deeply cares for me in this intimate of a way. I'm willing to take responsibility off of others for this task. Understanding that my own nurturing of my deep well-being is my responsibility. And it is also my responsibility to hold others accountable for being respectful. And it is my responsibility when I do not hold others accountable for being respectful. I understand that I teach others how to treat me. And I am deeply willing to look into this with honesty and care. And sort out how I can treat myself better in these ways. And I know that this will contribute to me being able to feel more connection with others. It will also provide clarity on the type of connection I'm seeking and who I'm seeking it with. And if that is rational or delusional. I am accountable for my own delusions. And I am accountable for my own clarity. So now we feel the energy changing again, moving up into our, feels like the frontal lobe. So just gonna sink into that. Now energetically, we're also feeling a lot of energy in our heart space. And we can feel the energy connecting through the heart and the frontal lobe. Just going to sink into that. Just continue to feel it. So now the energy is moved out of the head and is back in the heart. And we can feel it coming to a close. And we would say there's two basic things we can feel interacting with each other. The emotion, the feeling of I am free and sovereign, and the emotion of I am connected. Since we don't know a word for all of those things together in the English language, we'll just use all of them. But in this ending feeling, you can feel distinctly how true connection is not dependent upon the approval of another. but rather the independent willingness to deeply feel yourself and others. So when we reach this end state, we hold it for as long as the energy wants to move, and the energy is still moving. It's quite strong. You're creating new set points when you do this. So you want to get good at the practice of being able to hold the more positive states like this. So this ending energy has one last statement. Through deep awareness and self-acceptance, I am free. Okay, so we would like to hear what you guys experienced through that. How about we just call on you? Pat, what did you experience?
Well, it was different, that's for sure. And it was very interesting to see how all of those connections were made, going from one to the other or back and forth and then on to another. Definitely want to go back and listen to that again. And I guess I found it easier to feel in some of the emotion points that you hit that I was used to, and some of the other ones that I wasn't so used to being connected to seemed a little harder to, as you would say, stay there.
So how do you feel? How do you feel right now?
Kind of relieved.
Good. Good. Karen.
I feel a lot more centered and a lot calmer. And it was a good reminder. I tend to fall into this mindset very often that I have to have connection outside of myself, and I have to rely on other people to validate me, or to I look outside myself for that validation. So I think that's where my mindset was going, back into that disempowered state where I'm always looking like, oh, I'm here all by myself, this can't be right. And really it's just I'm in the fear and the worry, and I'm allowing that to go into that old mindset. So it was good to transition back to I'm connected to myself, I'm grounded in myself, I can feel that connection just by myself, which is what I feel now. That's how I feel right now. I feel like I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm connected, I have everything I need.
Good. Excellent. Yeah. Pamela, what was your experience like?
Right now I feel tired, but couldn't stop yawning. Then I saw, when you was talking about fear, I saw this really old person with no teeth, chewing with an earring. It was like it was hiding out inside of me somewhere.
Mhm.
Then when you went to the head, I saw a lady. It was like a little slave house, and a lady had something wrapped up and gave it to the person to say, "Here, take her till she's free." I was sitting there going like, woo.
That's a very interesting experience.
Now I feel tired, like I need to take a nap.
Which means you feel more calm, yes?
Yeah, yes.
Excellent. Chantel, what was your experience like?
I really got tired as well, and definitely more relief. I was able to hold focus a lot better this time. So and holding the states and feeling them, starting to feel the energy move, so which is nice. Mentally, I'm always looking for acceptance, and this emotional alchemy is help with that, and need to be more confident and more control, and yeah, don't keep looking for it.
Yeah, and it's a
Yeah.
lot better to not keep looking for it, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Obviously, you all want to accept each other in your lives, but there's going to be moments where you don't. There's going to be moments where others don't accept you, and there's going to be moments where you don't accept others. And that's just part of your growth as a collective also. But one thing you always have control over is working and cultivating your own self-acceptance and understanding how you can do that, which it's really rather simple how to cultivate self-acceptance. It's to continually behave in a way that is congruent with who you want to be. And that cultivates self-acceptance. And, you know, it's okay to mess up. So it's important to give yourself permission to make mistakes and to be willing to accept your mistakes as well. And this also helps you accept other people's mistakes. So do you guys have any questions?
So what do I do with all that I was seeing?
Just realize that when you're moving through emotional states, emotion is energy, and there are different parts of you that are always trying to translate what energy is. So some of you, when it's going through that translation, some of you are going to see things, you're going to have visuals, some of you are going to hear things, you're going to have things happen audio, and just don't attach to it. Become more focused on how it feels,
Okay.
because all of those other factors, they're translation processes.
Okay.
And you're not always going to understand why your particular translation process is what it is. So it's just good to get in the habit of not attaching too much to those.
Okay.
But
So don't try to figure that out. Just how I felt when that happened.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
I just had one question. I don't know if you can help us understand what's going on collectively on our planet right now and how that might be affecting us. Is it bringing up things for us to transform more often, or are we feeling other people's energies?
Oh, absolutely. And what you're going through right now is absolutely a collective evolution process. And things are coming up faster and faster, aren't they? So life is always trying to reach the next level. And that's what you're going through right now, is life doing its best to reach the next level. When you get to a point of a kind of a new plateau or a new way of existence, no matter if you're experiencing it in your just very personal life or if you're experiencing it as a collective, what you have right before a new set point is utter chaos. So if you think about any time in your life where it seemed like everything was about to just crash and burn, and it had this kind of feeling, didn't it? It's very frenetic, very chaotic, frightening, because you can't see what's on the other side of it. But if you really think back into your life, into any time that has happened, if you let yourself go forward in time a year or so, what you'll find is that my life was better after that. So we want you guys to reflect on how humanity got into this place in the first place. That's important. But we also want you to realize that you are an extension of creation itself. You're an extension of the Creator itself. And that is always reaching new heights. And you're a part of that. And what you contribute to the entire collective aids in that occurring. So practices like this, where you are very much contributing something extremely valuable. To be able to transform emotions like this is very valuable. To get yourself into a calmer space is valuable, because it then has an effect on those around you also, doesn't it? And so what happens when you engage in anything that's going to have a positive effect on anyone around you or the world around you is you give the momentum into moving into something better, more power. So that's what should be remembered right now, is that in any way that you can contribute, and absolutely any way you can contribute energetically toward bringing something better into existence, it's important to do so. Especially when you have an entire world that is really engaging in fear propaganda. So notice that there's a big difference between engaging in fear propaganda and being willing to be present with fear. You guys feel, now that you went through this process, you felt the difference of that, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So lots of people have that confused. I don't want to ignore that this is happening and it's scary and get on a loop with it. And we agree with not ignoring what's going on ever. It's not wise to ignore what's happening, but find a way to be present with it, with the emotions of it itself, so that you can transform that energy. Because presence with energy transforms energy. Presence is a very high vibrational state. Okay? So anytime you take presence into something like fear or something like anger or something like terror, a lot of people are experiencing terror. When you take presence into that, you start to change the energy of it. So presence over indulgence. Do you guys understand the difference there? So where you can bring your presence, do so. If it's someone that's afraid, be present with them. If it's someone that's angry, be present with them. But be willing to hold presence within all of this uncomfortableness so that you can help elevate it to higher levels of being. But don't indulge in it. Ask questions, absolutely. Pay attention, absolutely. But do not engage with the fear propaganda in an indulgent type of way. Do you guys understand what we're saying by that?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And then you can take that into your, personal experiences with others and whatnot as well. And here's the beautiful magic about it. When, let's say you're just dealing with, because every single one of you is a practitioner. Let's say you're dealing with a client. If you're dealing with a client and that client is very afraid, or you're dealing with a family member and that family member is very afraid, the best thing you can do is hold presence with them and kind of let them exhaust themselves in their own fear indulgence. And just be present while they're doing that, not trying to avoid what they're doing, even though they might be throwing up on you, but just hold presence with it. And what will happen is that if you can keep yourself centered holding presence while that's occurring, then you will help to dissipate their fear as well. And then without even saying anything, without you saying anything, they will end up feeling better. Just because you held presence and allowed them to entrain more with you energetically. So what happens a lot of time when you have these more negative emotions going on, and then you've got your world in this state of chaos, when you're experiencing somebody else's fear, you start getting all of your fear buttons plucked, and then you start entraining with them, and then you're both afraid, and then the tendency is to want to just ignore the whole thing, ignore that person, get away from that person, not talk about that subject matter, avoid it at all costs. That dynamic is exactly how you get into these situations in the first place. That dynamic is how people become addicted to drugs and alcohol and all different other types of distractions, avoidance. So always choose presence. Presence will dissipate the energy faster than anything. And the better you get with presence, the more clarity you will have on this entire worldwide picture that's going on, the more clarity you will have with someone that you're sitting across from. And most of you have probably experienced that when you have clarity, it's a lot easier to be calm. Because when you have clarity, you understand what you can and cannot control. And when you have clarity, you understand what is intelligent to take action with and what isn't. So you're always wanting to expand upon your own sense of clarity, expand upon your own sense of awareness, and expand upon your own ability to stay present and not allow yourself to be swept up in emotion, but rather allow yourself to be present with emotion in order to bring it to those higher levels. Do you guys understand this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just remember, energy entrains. And the question is always, Am I entraining with that, or am I creating a better set point that can entrain with me? And what you're wanting to do for your world is what we're trying to get you guys to do is get enough of you genuinely at a better set point so that the rest of the world is entraining with you. Okay.
Okay, so my being present will keep the energy here, and it'll make them come up.
Eventually, yes.
Okay.
That takes practice, because it's when you're used to being in that kind of space with them, it feels really easy to get sucked back into it. So while the way we say it sounds easy, we also understand it's not. But you guys can be practicing it at least. And now you have an emotional alchemy meditation that we just took you through that can get you back to center very quickly. And you are welcome to share it with whomever you want.
Okay, so we'll be able to pull this back up and go through it.
Yes, and for some reason it did not record on Angel's phone, but we believe there should be an audio file on this Zoom also. So we should still be able to get you an audio file. But there is going to be a video file too that we'll give all of you.
Thank you.
So you started the exercise with rejection. Can I start it with anything, like say anger instead?
Sure. Yeah, that's essentially what it's for, is so that when you let's say you feel like, God, I'm so pissed right now. And you go, all right, I'm starting right there. I'm pissed. I'm gonna sit in my anger. I'm gonna feel it. I'm gonna let it speak to me. I'm gonna let it show me everything that it's angry about. I'm gonna let it scream. You allow the energy to express itself. That's essentially what we just did. And then we allowed the energy to move through us and just translated it as it moved through. But you don't have to do that part.
And then you just followed it to where it went.
Yep, you just follow it. That's it. You allow it to lead you.
Okay.
In that whole process, we use the word listen, but by listening we mean feeling. It's a deeply feeling process. Okay.
Deeply feeling what?
Process.
Okay.
And we're going to do more of these free webinars to help you guys with alchemy. So it's very important to help you guys with this right now, with what you're going through in the world. So we will continue. Please feel free to share this with anyone that you feel would benefit. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you guys for being on here today.
Thank you, Geschichte.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Geschichte.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.